Howdy. Uh, Man, so much work has gone into this guy. Um, and we're getting pretty close. So tonight what I want to do is dry brush a little green on the wings here so they don't have to match these wings, but so they get a little closer. There's a bunch of little details like all these pustule things that I'm going to hit with some yellow and then cover them up with some, what's it called, Nurgle's Rot. Fitting. I want to get some cataracts on the eyes, and then any of this sort of glorpy stuff that is in a few different spots. I want to sort of just get it glorpy. So there'll probably be Nurgle's Rot and maybe a little bit of something else. And then we have this base that I'm still a little bit wary of, but I dry brushed it a little bit to get some color to fill in the cracks here. I didn't understand that the Growling Earth was going to do this before I did it. I would have painted the base in a basic color first. Let me see if I can scooch this because my posture is terrible. So I'm going to add some grass to the base, which I think will A, just contrast nicely the model in general, and B, just because I've never actually worked with that stuff before, like I do with so many things here, it'll be a new experience. So I'm going to pour myself some tea and get down to business. My goal tonight is to get him table ready. There's absolutely going to be a few things that I spot on here that I'm like, oh, well, maybe not. Maybe I'll add a little to it. There's a couple tubes that come off of these tanks. I actually just don't like how they look. Just don't like them. They kind of go nowhere-ish. I mean, one of them goes into his pauldron, and one just sort of hangs out the back. I'm leaving them off. They're actually easy enough to glue on, but I kind of like having this be not barred by stuff. I think there's another couple pieces that probably need to get added, but that's where we're at, and I'm pretty psyched to be close. So mostly, we should be covering all the necessary gooey details to feel reasonably confident there's no shame in putting this guy on a table. So to start, I'm grabbing some Averland Sunset, and this is what's going to go into all the blemishes on the wings. And depending on how it looks, I've used this before. Where did I use it? I think I used it on, I used it on my miasmic malignifier. I might leave some of the pustules just yellow. Because they're tiny, they're very circular. So when you're like adding contrast, like having something pop like a yellow, if it's like tiny little dots, can be pretty interesting. I wouldn't use something like yellow for the slop of stuff, the strings between the gas mask bits or something like that. But for here, some tiny little, somewhat bright yellow dots will catch the eye just enough. I do like Nurgle's Rot a lot, though, so I may find myself going over all these bad boys. Just hitting these dots. So you can see, you know, they pop nicely. Pardon the weird metaphor of talking about these blemishes and popping and stuff, but they pop out visually. And then when the Nurgle's Rot goes over, it just gives it something brighter in the background, so it doesn't just look like glop. And Nurgle's Rot is like quickly becoming one of my favorite technical paints. It has a very shiny gleam to it. Don't dip the wing. The Averland Sunset. Don't do it. The Nurgle's Rot is somewhat transparent, so having a sharp color behind it, I almost considered doing white behind these, but I went with yellow in case I decide to skip on a few of them in terms of the Nurgle's Rot. Just dabbing it in there. I think you can see with the camera, it's still got a nice sheen around the edge of the wings. That was, I don't have an airbrush, but that was some airbrush paint. It's got some color shiftiness to it that a friend of mine turned me on to. I do need to get an airbrush at some point. I do worry about the ventilation in here. But apparently they make these tiny little hoods that you can get that I think would fit in my cramped in little space here. And I do have a window right behind, so if I wanted to just vent out the window, I could. But I think that's going to be one of my next steps. It's like, let's get an airbrush and see how that goes. I'm curious if anyone out there has one, how loud the compressor is on it. Because I do most of my painting after my kids are asleep. So I might only be able to airbrush during the day. Should be a little bit of something. Basically, I would just do a bunch of airbrush prep on the weekend. Would be how I would do it. All right, so I've got a bunch of stuff on the back side of the wings. Definitely needs to exfoliate more. Got a blemish issue. Oh, I got the shaky hands. There we go. I'm going to sit him down. I don't think I can sit him down flat. We're just going to cope with it. All of these raised blemishes have sort of a crease on them. So all you got to do is dab the paint in. As long as you've thinned it a little bit, you don't have to thin it like crazy. You don't want it to be runny. As long as you've thinned it a little bit, it'll just sort of fill that space without going too far over the edge, even if you bonk it. And if you bonk it, you just hit it with a paper towel or your thumb or something, you'll be fine. All right, I think I got all of them. Hit this guy a little bit more. Bloop. There we go. And I obviously need this stuff to dry before I Nurgles rot it. So I will pick a new task elsewhere on the model. Give these guys a little room to dry. I am laying the paint on pretty heavy, and you don't want to thin it out too much. These are very textured raised sections, so I'm just glopping it on there a little bit. That looks pretty good. Make sure that I'm not missing any completely. Not that I'm thinking it'll affect things all that much. All right, so while I've still got, probably need a tinier brush, but while I've still got some Averland Sunset on my palette, just dry that guy a little bit. I'm gonna grab a super tiny brush. Get a dab of iron rack skin. I'm going to mix this up with a little, just the tiniest dash of that yellow. Use a different brush for this. Just grab some out of here, put it on the palette. And now I have sort of an off-white that I can use to mix with yellow to get sort of a cataract thing going. I don't need a ton of yellow for this. There's only 2 little dots for eyes. But I think it'll be a nice detail, and I normally don't, at least in the past, I haven't added a lot of details like this to my models, but it's Mortarion. I want to kind of try to do them right. So, the eyes are the windows to the soul. I'm going to take a tiny little dip, that yellow, add it in, back here, add it back, just kind of go back and forth a bit till I've got enough yellow in there, and it doesn't take a ton. Alrighty, now we're just going to hit his eyes as carefully as possible, and I want to set this model, like obviously I can't let him sit down because he's got too many chains sticking off him, but I just want to set him down enough while I stall you while I get really scared to hit his eyes. Hopefully don't turn this into a comedy video. So, to get a little dab of water on here, I'm just going to use the water, very, very much just a damp brush. You just, with the paint that's there, poke it into the corners a little bit. Some of that liquid move around. And hopefully we get a nice little cataract effect out of this. And it may end up needing a second coat. That's fine. It looks like I didn't totally bomb that. I'm not putting pupils in his eyes. That's not happening. Whenever I see models, people talk about drawing and they're like, oh, hands are really tough to do. Whenever I see some part of why I do Death Guard is because I'm deathly afraid of doing legit faces. And people that do good looking eyes on these models, little Marines, absolute savages. I have nothing but respect for those people. That ain't me. That ain't me at all. I'm curious. I should probably hit this sort of electro boltish thing with something while I'm here, because I just noticed it. And that'll be a lot of what tonight is, noticing little details that I've been telling myself I'd do later. I'm going to hit that with neolac oxide. I've only used a little bit of this in the warpish stuff. I may do some highlights on the warpy stuff with this as well. Just get the edge of his base to set down. And this is nice and light, and it's already been washed with Mortarion grime. So where it's recessed, as long as I don't get in there, it should just color the edge that's sticking out. Gosh, I hope so. Deep breath. Deep breath. It's kind of toothpastey looking. And this is normally used for like a verdigris. Verdigris, I think it is. But I'm a little bit short on bright colors, so it's doing a little bit of double duty. Because the word duty is funny, and I'm immature. All right, so you can see, not crazy twist there, just a little bit of color. Now I'll hit the other side. It is so precarious holding this model in your hand. So precarious. I went back and watched a little bit of one of the earlier videos. One of my friends was like, it's really scary watching as you like touch one of these things and they sort of float around. It is. I can't tell as much when I'm doing it because I'm staring very intently at this tiny little piece of the model that I'm trying to paint. Yeah, I went overboard there. But, yeah, it's precarious. Precarious. Just getting into those little bits. That's enough. Okay. Yet another thing. Done. I want to do a couple things before I go crazy with the base, before I drop the base. If I were to do any dry brushing, it would have to be now. I think I had something out here. I've left all of my colors out this entire time. Tyrant Skull. Yeah, Tyrant Skull. Left all my paints out because I knew I was going to go back to a bunch of them, which means this has just loaded up my space over time. But I kind of like it. It's a good sort of testament to this project. And I can sort of tell as my space gets more precariously messy that I've done more. So I actually dip my dry brush, as much as that's a little counterintuitive. I saw someone do this. I dip it in water first before I get going. And I find, I dry it off pretty thoroughly, that the paint performs a little bit better if the brush itself isn't damp, I'm going to dry it off, but it's got a little wetness to it. I think the paint just kind of moves around a little better. So I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just going to try to hit some of the edges on here just a bit. Not trying to make them super light. Just to bring that edge up a little. Try a little more paint here, buddy. It's always strange, like how much paint to get on the dry brush. Always feels a little weird. Still don't have a very natural feel for it. Yeah, so any of these little spots, just to make them a little bit more ghostly, bring up some of those edges a little bit more. Maybe over there just to cover up a spot that I hit in silver, because that happens too, folks. Turn, be very careful about where I'm grabbing them. Just brightening up the edges a bit. And something like Tyrant Skull, it's light, but it's in sort of theme with my colors. So, as much as it's just a little bit of highlight, still staying true to what I'm doing here. Yeah, that is a mess up I'm not going to be able to handle with this, but that's okay. I can also go over just a little bit these stitches, because Tyrant Skull is kind of a thread color. So I'm just taking my time over here and just dry brushing over all these little bits that are raised up. Just going many strokes over it, and it makes those stitches pop out a lot better. I am using a makeup brush very intentionally, and I think I may stick with makeup brushes for the long haul on my dry brushing. I don't know quite what it is about them, but you can get a big set of them, and a lot of them are in cool shapes. Like I don't own a dry brush that is actually flat but pointed. I got a whole cup of them. So some of them are going to definitely be good for like pigment. Maybe I'll pigment the bottom of this guy tonight. Maybe. We'll see. I can. I have the capability. My point is, you just have a lot more options for different brush types if you get a makeup brush set. And you don't need a really good one. I certainly didn't get a very good one. Actually, I'm going to grab it just to do some show and tell. But like, holy moly, look at all those brushes. There's huge, massive ones, which probably won't have that much usage. But if you're using like pigment dust and stuff, they can be really cool. And then there's a bunch that are, you know, different shapes and sizes. This straight up weird one. But I was figuring, if you think about makeup, the glare gets that. But like, man, tiny makeup brush. If you think about makeup, a lot of it is dry brushing. I've watched some makeup videos and sort of picked up, I don't want to say tips per se, but like, if you watch a lot of the real beginner level ones, the stuff that they're doing on their face is a lot of what we're doing on this model. Like trying to create highlights and contours and all that stuff. So it stands to reason there's a lot to be learned there. Oh, that was a little bit heavy there, buddy. Chill that brush out a little bit. place to grab him by, gently as ever. Yeah, so we're getting a nice natural little jump in some spots. Good. Just hang out on those stitches for a little bit. Lighten them up a little. Get these guys up top. Actually, I need a little bit more on here before I do that. Easier than just nailing each one of those stitches. All right. More on top here to bring out some of that texture. Yeah, Mortarion. Go get him. This skull real quick. It's called Tyrant Skull. Mortarion's definitely a tyrant. Spikes a little bit. Just get the tips to sort of pop a little bit. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Edge of these bones. Yeah. Gently brighten those up a little bit. Yeah. That works nicely. Works really nicely. Doesn't take a lot. Does not take a lot. All right. Well, that was good. I've got some. Wash this brush off. Nice wet, dry brush. Get all that stuff out of there. Brush water still has some pink in it. It's fine. Nurgling green. Now this part is going to be a little wacky. I don't even think this stuff shakes at all. It doesn't. Pipe dream. It is green and gloppy. Oh wow, you like push down in there and the whole pile of stuff just clops a bit. That's wet at the base, which is intentional. There we go. Give it a little push. And now, I don't know how exactly to do this, and I certainly don't know how to do it. You guys can pick up on what I'm doing, but I'm going to try. Yeah, to just get the bottom of these wings, just get the edges. Like so. It's just going to take me quite a bit of strokes to get there. I hope you stay attached, little buddy. Turn him. So precarious, model. You're so precarious. Turn him this way. Get this side of the wing. And back here. Oh, you guys, I really should have assembled you after all that sub-assembly. These little guys I just slapped right on there. It's all good. Onto the other one. Always spinning and turning this model in a way that hopefully doesn't injure any of the parts involved. It's okay if I do, because I just ordered a bunch of crazy glue. Tip there. Different section of my finger to hold this guy in place. Grab the wings and the buboes. Spinning. We're spinning. I do love this color. It's a great dry brush color. Nerdling green. And if you've been around for a little bit, you do realize my obsession with using specific colors. If you get a color named after you, try to use it on you. Funny enough, I don't think I used Tyrant Skull on my Knight Tyrant, so I may need to go back and dry brush a little piece of him so he feels complete. Oh, model. Strangely enough, these chains do have a decent amount of bend to them. You gotta be careful, but at least they're not brittle. All right, so as you can see, the wings got a nice little fade to sort of harken back to how Mortarion's doing up here. On that note, give this guy a wash. His wings look good. Get all that nerdling green off of here, or at least most of it. These brushes are getting soaped very, very soon. Brush soap, very important. Now comes the testing time. I can close you up, nerdly green. Boop. I will stab my finger, and that is fine. All right, so we'll get the rest of these pustules going. Oh, sweet, sweet, sweet Nurgle's Rot. One of my faves. It's so plasticky. It dries in a very bizarre, interesting fashion. This brush may be too big for this work, but maybe not. Yeah, you gotta get enough of it to shtick. Sometimes it takes 2 tries with this. If you want to create some height, you do want to remember how translucent this stuff is. And what's nice is that it'll settle in a little bit, kind of like the original yellow paint that I put on there. When it does, you get a little bit of that yellow through the middle shining through. It looks pretty gross. It's got a very pus look to it. If you get that nice gleaming shine, maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. I couldn't tell you. Alrighty. Flip this guy. Okay, I've got a good handle on his foot. I feel like I'm wrestling this model whenever I paint him. Grabbing strange limbs. There you go. That's a nice little cluster of 3. Papa Nurgle would be proud. The one thing you do want to make sure you do, though, you can leave some of these straight up yellow, but if you're going to cover them, you want to cover it whole. It does look a little squirrely if you put pus on it and then it's not covered. And it should go over the sides a little bit, which is gives it that look everyone's looking for this year. There we go. And I don't thin this stuff at all. It's pretty sticky, pretty plasticky. It's pretty smooth. I like it a lot. Oh, now we're going to flip him around and hit the back side of his wings. It's funny, I can see the previous angle at which I painted the yellow from here, it's like I can definitely tell that I painted it from over there. It's funny, the things you spot in your own work. There we go. So each one of these guys got a healthy glopping Nurgle's rod. Connect the dots there. Hit this wing. Just need a couple of dabs on there, and it'll just work its way to where it needs to go if you apply just a little bit of pressure. I've never actually like run the brush with Nurgle's rod. I'm finding more and more that like technical paints, you got to just absolutely just look up what they're for. That's kind of an obvious lesson. But B, more and more, you don't even use a standard brush technique at all with them. A lot of them are you dab them or you flick them. Like I've seen really cool stuff with people using blood for the blood god. They shouldn't do that with a brush in your hand, buddy. They just flick it at the model. It just looks like Dexter showed up. It's pretty rad. All right, so set this guy down. I think I don't normally mix this with anything, but I could. Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to put some of this on my wet palette and see what happens when it looks like absolute rotting booger. That's so cool. See what happens when I grab a little squeezy old reliable Tesseract Glow and mix it. I probably shouldn't do this on my wet palette, but here I am. I'm not sure if I have one of those plasticky guys around. I just need the tiniest amount. Oh, big old bubble. There you go. Yeah, I should probably chuck this. Getting a package of these, very useful. Very useful. All right. So here we are. Scooch this just a bit. Yeah, now you can actually see what I'm doing. Yep. Look at that. Texture's gross. The Nurgle's rot takes sort of some of the glow out, but not all of it. And it thickens it up a little bit so it's not as soupy as Tesseract Glow normally is. I think that's a win. I think that's definitely a win. All right. We're looking for further places of glop. So we've got this connection right here. That's pretty cool. I dig that. I may actually use that on the gun. The nice thing is the Nurgle's rot will give this some amount of snotty texture. You can already see how it's like grabbing onto the side of that rebreather doohickey, if that's even what that's called. That's cool. Got this snotty boogery connection here. It's just coating it and coating it. I'm pretty sure there's a couple more, but I may have actually hit them with other colors of paint by accident and sort of hid them, which is always an issue. Do I see any other boogery connections? Oh, that is looking good though. Just that little bit of snotty nuclear color on there. Yeah, it's got nice stringiness to it. That's cool. And Nurglings do need a wash. That is absolutely true. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it for that stuff, which would be nice. I don't want too much of that bright stuff going on here. Sit, buddy. Sit down. Yeah, you know what? I will use this on ye old lantern. I like how it looks. I'm actually going to brush it on here, but it'll give just a pop, and by brushing it, it won't look as snotty. kind of a revolver looking dealy. Add a little bit of there to get a pop of color. It'll be sort of carried across nicely. Plague weapon, I think. I like it when you have a little accent of color and it's carried over somewhere else, which is why, like the cloth, I didn't do the same gradient on the Nerdlings, but they did get this purple because they're down by the lower part of the model. Got that purple somewhat inconsistently. Could fix that too. There you go. He's like, bing, bing, bing. Draws the eye to it. That'll do, pig. Who you calling pig? All right, I need, who was it? I need a little bit of Magos purple. I found a spot that I sort of missed on a Nerdling. The undercarriage of some of this cloak. Yeah, I only hit it from one side. Give myself a pass because this model be complicated. An extra coat on there, which I said the other night, no big deal if I got to put an extra coat of this stuff on. Well, that remains true. All right, now we just got to get under here without him wiggling too much. It's a contrast paint. I'm using a super tiny brush, which makes contrast paint a little weird because you're getting so little liquid on the end, but I need to be super safe now. I need to keep things all in order. Especially with this guy jumping around while I'm trying to paint him. Not exactly behaving. Thankfully, the only other thing I can hit here is a bunch of warp lock bronze, which I don't think is all that worried about getting colored. I need something longer. I am going to go into like somewhat dangerous territory here and just get in there and squeege it in. Yep, I gotta get this angle. All about angles. All about angles. Oh my god, you're so weird. Model, you're so weird. So weird. Alright, so oh, I got the back of his hood. Hit you with a dot. You soak around there a little bit. It's no accident that I went into like reddish territory for the cloak and for the skin. Because the very next thing I'm doing, and I'm doing it right now, is I'm going to wash those guys so they get a little bit of texture to them. And Berserker Bloodshade gets into those creases, hopefully pick up and eradicate some of those little spots where you're like, how far do I go on this side? And then with the other paint, how far do I go on that side? And you end up with a little line of white in the middle because Prime did in white, and it just screams at you. Now with a wash that matches both of those, it can meet in the middle. Fix some of the screaming white that is poking out. And be a good blend between color A and color B. All right, let's go get this bread. And I'm hopeful I will give this guy yet another spin and see if there's any other crazy stuff that I haven't hit yet. But I'm hoping after this wash, I can get down to business on that base. Very hopeful. This wash is absolutely fine to get a bit on that cloak. It's actually a do that intentionally. Oh, you little cherubic demons. You guys are awesome. So you can see, maybe you can, maybe you can't. Camera's not exactly zoomed in like wild. You can see underneath there where his hands are, there's like just this little spot where it's just, yeah, just touching the orb that he's carrying. And it's like, yep, get in there with a little wash. It'll darken it enough so it doesn't stand out anymore. Get his little footy. Here, oh yeah, there's a decent amount of white underneath there. Now I can see it. Just hit you with a drop of that, let it just push in with the brush, let it just get into that crevice. Crevasse right between his arms. Boop, just poke it in there, jiggle it around a little bit. It's blind painting, but it'll get you just enough color so you don't have to really worry about it being too white. I'm going to go back to Magos Purple for a second because I didn't hit either of these cloaks on the underside. That's awesome. Let's get this party started. I'm going to take bets on whether or not I dip this in the wrong side. Seems like a genuine possibility. This I got to be careful with. This is cloak. The skin's right next to it. They're close. I prefer to get it right the first time. Alrighty. That's taken care of. A little bit on him. It's not a sin. Once again, he is getting a skin wash. All right, this you can't see. I can barely see it. I apologize, but some of these little spots I got to get into are just uncamerable unless I get a GoPro. And I don't think that'll be fun for anyone because I look all over the place all the time, and that's a little weird. All right, let's get that little collection cup. Again, being very careful as to where I'm going. Handling this precarious model. Backside cloth. A little more. There's a little draping over there that I didn't get. Perfect. Now we're seeing everything. Now we're seeing everything. His hoodie again. Poke in there. Get a couple spots. All right, now I can go back to Berserker Bloodshade. Maybe wash your brush, buddy. And get right in it. The model itself, not the model itself, the character itself. All that texture I want. By just pushing this in there. Like all his knuckles. Perfect. Top of this sensor thing. Give you a dollop. Looking around the front. Pushing that into all the recessed spots. And it on a little bit thick in there, buddy. But I don't want to have to return to it another time. So it's a-okay. Do an absolutely weird angle here. Just push some of this around. A little dab of it for the top of this wing. Didn't get anything before. I better hit the other top of this, which will actually harken to these big strips up here. Just in the top edge. Get those a little bit darker. Just because it kind of makes it look a little bit more like Uncle Morty up top. And I've got the other wings to hit with this as well. That definitely does a good job of bringing the tops of the wings in line a little bit more. You can see how it's darker up there. It doesn't really come off on this model. Even though I painted it the same, it needs a little bit more darkness to it up there. We'll just give it to it right now. Yeah. Yeah. And nicely, some of that shade is just hugging the edges of these veins a little bit, which gets us back to that effect that we had up there. All right. Dilly-dallied a bit. Not dilly-dallied, it's all been work. But now it's time to see if we can get some grass going. Stash my brushes, leave that wet palette out. I had that show up in the mail. Show up. I ordered it and it showed up timely. I was a little worried about the base for a couple days, so I just was like, hey, how about grass? I've done these little tufts before, but I've never done dropping glue down and then just sprinkling grass on it. And I think that's interesting. I think at the very least, I'm going to go around all the edges of the rocks on the base. And then if I like it, I might do a lot more. It might become very verdant, and then all of this sort of crackle stuff. Not a lot of it will show through, but I think that'll be fine. But I want to find out. So here's what you get. You get a whole book. That was very generous. There's a whole book on basing this thing. Oh. There's a whole book on painting. Well, that was very generous. Ooh, laser line, that's not a bad idea. Look at all these people having fun painting stuff. Interesting. Wow, it goes into color theory. This is pretty dope. When I shook it, I knew it had like some sort of book in it, but I figured it was a manual on basing. Yeah, bases make a difference. Yeah, you ain't kidding, buddy. With your modeling glue, don't light it on fire. Cut the end off. I'm sorry. But with the metal tipped glue thing, lighting it on fire is I don't recommend you do it, but it's pretty dope when I do it. All right, so it's a whole book on stuff, on painting. That's pretty neat, and I will read it. Very generous, very generous. What else we got? All right, we got tufts, which I'm used to. Strange bits of licheny stuff. A bag of grass, a bag of some dirt, a bag of snow, a bag of excessively expensive wood chips that double as fake rocks, and some glue. Smashed, missing, or broken items? Contact support. There. I haven't used a lot of the Army Painter brand stuff, but I like the cut of their jib. Like, I don't think I own any of their paints. I think everything I own that's Army Painter is basing stuff, like flipping you the bird, and a few dry brushes. But I kind of like that they package their stuff up with a bunch of knickknacks. So I'm going to need this glue. I'm not going to need any snow. I don't think I'm going to need any crazy sand or rocks for this mission. So I'll set that aside. I got to clean up so bad. I wonder... Need to figure out what this glue is like. I mean, that looks like Elmer's. I'm guessing it pretty much is. So that, I could just use an old beat up brush, brush them down, and then tweezer on some grass. Is that how this works? Easy twist and pour lid. Keeps glue fresh longer. I like the sound of that. Apply with an old brush. Clean in tap water. Fair enough. We are off to the races. What I will do is I'll use this used and abused thing that I dry brush and sometimes test color. And oh, it's just coming straight out. That's great. Big old booger of that stuff. All right, now close it so it doesn't keep flying out of there. There we go. I'm guessing this is Elmer's glue and water. I'm not upset about that. That's a-okay. Let me see if I got a more beat up brush. And I know I do. There's your prime candidate. It's all splayed on the end. That thing is just begging. I do have... Did I grab tweezers? I think I did. Yeah. Got a set of nice, sharp, dangerous. If you poke yourself with these, bad news bears. Sharp tweezers. I don't know if I'll use any tufts on this. All right, scooch this chair so that it fits under this desk. I can't wait to have a different space. We'll tee up and do this. All right. Here's the mind killer. From this far, all we gotta do is just glue this stuff on. Carefully. Oh, yeah, I got some glue on his horn. All right. Well, it says it washes up with water and that it's water-based. So in theory, get some water on it. Make sure I didn't hit anything else. And then I get a pad and I just give a little scrub. Yeah, it looks fine. All right, good. Nothing to worry about. It's never anything really to worry about. You can always fix stuff. This glue should the grass should hide my weird little edge here. Should be nice. Another little, don't want so much glue on there. Clean that up. I'll be a little more careful in the next run. I did go up on the side of it, which I don't need, and this grass is going to stick to it. And in theory, oh yeah, these are just like little filament hairs. Oh, this has got like, if my cat gets into this, good lord, I'm doomed. Oh yeah, it's just straight up grass dust. Oh, that's so cool though. And then I'm guessing you just like later on, you shake the thing out. I don't know if I have enough glue on there. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. We're going to find out. Oh, this stuff gets everywhere. I need to get a blow dryer on this thing eventually. I do get the sense that I'm going to need a lot more glue. This stuff to stick to. Oh my god, this is so weird. It's like I'm just adding this weird dust to it and hoping that it sticks. So strange. I mean, does that make sense to do? Just push it? I have tools for that. I have tools for that. Don't be a savage. I have got a tool for that. I have a egregiously large tool for that. Just push that in. And I'm hoping the excess just sort of shakes off. It goes back in the bag. Yeah, it doesn't look right. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It looks like I was a little too careful with the glue. Oh my god, this stuff is like worse than glitter. Not that I know anything about glitter. It kind of looks like moss. Do I hit the whole thing with that, or do I just stick by my guns and hit the edge? I'm gonna stick with the edge for now. Stick with the edge. I'm gonna try glopping this on significantly more in there and seeing if that gets me where I want to go. If it's just a matter that I didn't put enough on there, that I can go over that other part again. But we got to experiment and figure this crap out. Got to do this. Try to recycle as much off of my desk as possible. And I wish I had more hands. All right, set this guy down. Scooch this stuff on there. A healthy amount. Just lay it in, and then I'll push it up against there with the tool, and hopefully it'll stick into that edge, and I can shake the thing off and take back whatever didn't get stuck. Alrighty. Once again, so try number 2. Let's see if this looks better. Give that a good... Can't stress having tools like this enough. The different edges do absolutely matter. That looks better than that. By far. Now you can actually see the grass around there. Okay. Didn't use enough glue. I can't immediately go back over this, I don't think. I should keep moving around, then come back to this and just hit it with a bunch more. All right, so you need to be liberal with the glue. We learned something. We are capable of learning, that's for sure. Get a decent amount right underneath this where it meets, because I want a decent tuft of grass to fit in there. All right, we are in business. That's not a good place to do that. Just roll it, pat it, mark it with a B. This is so cool. This stuff is weird, but like this process is just like super interesting. Like I can only imagine right now, but like doing a diorama, all this grass stuff on it. Wicked cool. All right, so glopping it on works. Absolutely works. Neat. I'll just push that stuff in there. I wonder how this will react to varnish, because I really am thinking about just... Maybe the varnish will just keep these weird little hairs, short little green hairs, from getting all over the place. Man, that is so neat. I shouldn't touch it. I shouldn't touch it. I shouldn't play with it. Not yet. Let it dry. Get some more tea. You know, maybe I will throw some dust in there. Maybe I will throw some of those little pieces of wood as rocks in there. Maybe that's why my bases are so boring. It's because I don't put enough neat stuff on them. Who'd have thunk it? The temptation is absolutely there to like cover large swaths like this. It's cool stuff. Think on it, ponder that, reflect on that tree of woe. At the very least, like I could take this right here, this kind of whole section, and just like have it come out a lot further. It's licheny stuff. And some of that could go on the rock in a couple spots. Maybe next to that skull. Maybe in this little crease here. Can you imagine how devastating it would be to sneeze while this stuff's on the table? All right, let's add more glue because that's fun, and add more grass. I'll be pretty liberal with it over here, and I'm going to go over this spot that I hit before so I can apply more grass. And I think I want to go a little bit further away from the base of that rock so that it goes out a little further. There's a little bit more surface area to stick to. We'll just keep grassing it up. I don't want to attach too much grass to the grass itself, but I feel a little more comfy now. Get Nurgle's rot on yourself, buddy. All right, just drop it in there, scooch a little bit more out of this bag. Oh, this stuff is so much fun. Multicolored green grass. And it does look like a tiny little pile of grass. I mean, obviously it's supposed to, but I'm just saying when you get up close to it, it does look neat. I sort of wish I had flowers right now. I think there's like a true homage to Nurgle's garden. There's nothing to be scared of. You will rot one day. Come back. There's flowers. Just like a little butterfly. Not the butterflies come back as flowers, but the whole caterpillar thing. Little carpet of grass around it. Pretty neat. Yeah, it's pretty ugly under there. I should clean that up. Maybe later. All right, well, I feel like this plan is now working. So we're just going to push through it, keep going little by little all around this rock. Now that I get it, I was just being too ginger the first pass with this glue. It dries clear, so you can get in there and go to town. Let's just pull a chunk out of here. There we go. Now I got stuff to work with on the table. I have to be super careful when I clean this up, but for now, we're in grass mode. There we go. We're just putting turf in. Oh man, that is so neat. Oh, Army Painter, I should try a bunch of your other stuff out. Everything I've gotten from you has been neat. For the Army Painter, maybe I should get some paint. I've been... Oh, yeah, you ain't stuck anymore. Eh. It's not stuck there anymore. We're going to have to crazy glue underneath that significantly. Thankfully, I bought a bunch more crazy glue. So we're set there. More glop under here. I thought how much glue I got out of that bottle was going to be more than enough, but I didn't understand the sermon yet. The most holy gloppening needed to get this to work. brushes up. Drop some in there. Give it a boost. Get in there with this tool. Boink. Poke in there. Get it all happy. Get rid of the excess. Oh, so neat. So neat. Ugh. Funny that. It's like right on time. Crazy glue fails me. I find it extra ironic that what failed was the attachment of this stick to that thing. It's like, come on, guys, you crazy glue. Should be able to adhere two pieces of plastic together. But oh well. Alright, so picking this guy up, I gotta raise this up, and then I gotta sneak in there with crazy glue like crazy. I can't believe I just said that out loud. I swear I did not mean that. I have to very sanely sneak in here with crazy glue. I need a decent amount so that this thing will sit and settle, regardless of if I know where that's going to be. That crease underneath, because no one's going to look under there. If they do, it's practically being rude. This is my new crazy glue bottle. And I need more basing glue. I'm just going to leave one finger on this for a minute. It's pushed down and it stays. This model is precarious enough as it is. I don't need it wiggling around and not being attached on its 3 points of contact. I'm just going to be patient. I'll peek over at my other screen briefly. See how all my other junk is doing. Oh, that's interesting. All right. That's been a hot minute. We can keep grassing things up. I definitely see now why people put the base together first and do all their effects. I get that now. That is the big lesson learned here. But I didn't know what I was going to do with this base before I got started. Just didn't know. Now I do. And with all the basing stuff that I've collected over time, I think I'm finally just going to get into basing. It's always been an afterthought. And yes, right now, I mean, this model that holds true. But now that I have enough little knickknacks, like I really enjoyed it for a tyrant. Put some real rocks from the rock on it, some other bits. Definitely have enjoyed it. Now I'm just going to start taking it seriously. There we go. Once again, tweezering in. Give it a pat. Collect all of our stuff that is falling out, man. This is neat. There we go. Scooch that in. Collect another pile. Man, this stuff's going to get everywhere. If my cat gets in here, I'm dead. Yeah, if you want like really big tufts, you just add a lot of glue, and I guess as you're patting it in, sort of permeates the stuff. It feels like fiberglass. I shouldn't say feels. Looks like it feels like glass. Is that flocking? You're asking me like I have any idea? Welcome, by the way. It's grass. It's neat. Is that a definition that I should know? Is that what fake grass is called? Flocking? Once again, Sensei, I learn yet again another lesson from you, and I appreciate it. What do you mean? Of course that's flocking. Who doesn't know that? Yes, lizard, it's flocking. I feel like a grown-up doing this. A proper old man. I should work on some trains. I am tempted to work on a train. My youngest daughters are obsessed with trains and trucks and stuff. I'm like, man, if I painted a truck for my kid, like so many dad points would be off the charts. Is that flocking? What kind of operation do you think this is? I know what flocking is. What a cold word, too. Yeah, this is my first time using this stuff called flocking. And I am having a blast. Basically just like covering that whole edge around that rock, and it just looks neat. Can't believe I've denied myself this hobby so long. So many just miraculous little fun moments. Good. Little gloppy. Gloppy little sloppy. Are you at work right now? Static applicator for complete mastery? That sounds neat. I have to look that up. Because it's tomorrow for you. Do you work on the weekends? That's a personal question. You don't have to answer this crap when I ask you, but I'm just morbidly curious. Maybe I'll show you what I'm working on instead of just hiding it from myself. There we go. Okay. Cool. Very cool. Man, this stuff is neat. Now I want to put flocking everywhere. Maybe I'll take like a whole. I got a week off coming soon. Maybe I'll just grab all of my bases that I did like an absolutely mediocre job and just like go nuts with them. I like the whole Nurgle's Garden idea. Like, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad about this base, but like, it's not fantastic. I could add so much more to this thing. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna buy a huge bale of flocking. It's 1:14 p.m. Sweet, sweet. I have had not a lot of time to paint in the last few days. My wife has gotten a pretty gnarly cold. She essentially got an ear infection. And, man, it's tough with little kids when one parent goes down. She's already like a super soldier. Add a wash and dry brush the texture paste for a bit extra. You know what? I do need to do that. That is something that I actually dry brushed this a bit because man, this the Grelin Earth was a revelation I did not see coming. Um, if I had done it right, if I'd known what this stuff was before I used it, I would have painted underneath, and then it wouldn't look black underneath the Grelin Earth. But dry brushing, and then I actually went in there and pushed pretty hard in some spots where it was chipped and open. Um, yeah, so like I'm pretty much picking up what you're putting down. Like this looks neat because like it's got a couple props on it, and for a poxwalker like that's enough. Maybe a little tough to grass would be neat, but if I dry brush this, then at least it's not going to look as flat as it does right now, and it does look pretty flat. I think I'll do that. I think I will. The other thing that I want to do is go around a bunch of my bases around the edge and actually color code them with like silver, copper, probably warp block bronze, gold, so that like for my poxwalkers, I'll just take 20 of them and give them like a silver edge, and then I know that those are my 20 that go with my typhus. Um, so it's sort of easy to pick out when I actually play the game and deploy stuff. Because it would be good for that to go a lot quicker. And then some of the special models, like my Chaos Lords, like they're a little bit kit bashed. So it's clear to the person I'm playing against also that like, hey, these guys are the Chaos Lords, not just some Marines. The guys that I played with the other weekend, all of their stuff, all of it, all three other players, almost everything they had was either proxied or unpainted. Um, and like in principle, I have no problem with that. But as someone who has no flipping clue what they're doing, I struggle to keep up with them. I was like, what is this thing again? Um, they kept up with it pretty quickly, but they understand the meta. I was like, I'm not even sure if I would have remembered what some Leagues of Votan guy actually did if I knew who he was. So yeah, we got some grass. It is tempting to just grass this whole thing up. Oh, well, I have you here because you do know about flocking. If I spray varnish this, is that going to wreck the flocking? Because there's a question. It might just make it all stick, which would be nice. I mean, I'm just going to use a matte varnish. You know what? I will test it before I use it on Mortarion. That's what I'll do. I won't risk the model itself. I have some extra bases. I'll get a base, texture it, I'll flock it, so to speak. Actually, I don't even need to use a base. What am I talking about? Look at this. Look at this. Scientist. I can do scientific experiments and not wreck all my stuff right out the gate. I do need to use enough of this though, so it's a proper test. I will flock this thing, and I'm not going to stop using that term. It's going to become so annoying. My wife is going to be like, could you please stop saying that? All right, so tomorrow when I go outside, wow, that is really cool. When you do it in big bunches, it absolutely just looks like grass. Like it's supposed to. I know it's supposed to do that, but the fact that it delivers on it is pretty rad. I will varnish this thing tomorrow first. And then I will come back with a verdict. All right, so this glue is water-based, so it should come right off of here. Am I sure I don't want to do anything else stupid and gluey? Maybe I do. Maybe I do. I should probably hit this little crease in there between those two rocks. Let's do this. Y'all got me started, and by y'all I mean the army painter and myself got me started on this whole flocking business. I don't care if I don't know when to stop. I don't care if I can stop anytime or not. It's like good childhood fun. 12-year-old's gonna lose her mind when she sees this model now. She's seen it like as painted as it is. Put grass on this thing, she's gonna be like mind blown. I do revel in the fact that like when I find something new that I like, I just use it everywhere. It's like, yep. Obviously, this being an exception, I'm not typhus corrosioning and rhizo rusting this side because I like it too much, and I want him to look kind of cleaner. This is why he's not. I mean, he's got a lot of Mortarion grime on him, but he's not all green and sloppy. He's not getting dipped. Spot for more moss on here. Yeah, there is. That's grass. We'll leave that as grass. That's cool. But now I just want to put grass everywhere. Just want to grass everything up. So a static applicator, I'm presuming, is some metallic thing that's got a little bit of charge in it. And that's how you add this stuff? Because this stuff is absolutely prone to static. Like, pile this up and get it back in the bag before it's dangerous. It does actually, it's amazing how much of it clumps up in the tweezers. Like, it doesn't just fly everywhere. There's a decent amount of science that has gone into this. Oh, you diorama nerds are my heroes, my forefathers in this endeavor. Like, it doesn't clean up as bad as I would have thought it did. It doesn't do what glitter does. Makes the grass stick up. Oh, you mother, that makes sense. Oh. That's wild. So I'm guessing you get like a little pile of it, you run the static applicator over it so that it stands up and sticks to it, and then you put it on the thing and just dunk it? That sounds dope. That does sound dope. Does this stuff match? I can do it. Let's shine this guy up a little bit. Get a little tuft. Just put a few little tufts in there. Ooh, these ones are nice. These are like designer tufts. The army painter's been holding out. I have some of their other ones. These have like multiple colors in them though. Maybe I just never noticed in the other ones. Put a third one in the back. Some scrubby looking stuff. Push those down the middle a bit. Use vacuum cleaner and a sock over it to save on the grass. You know what's interesting? I don't think I have it out here, but I have. I'll show it off sometime. Strangely enough, not unlike grass. I trim my beard bathroom. I have actually two of these vacs. One of them's probably in here, just to clean up beard hair clippings, which is essentially this grass. I have this little vacuum in there, and it plugs in and it recharges, and it has a little filter on the inside. It's a filter cup that's about as round as big and round as like one of these. It captures everything in, empty it out. Obviously, I don't want to mix my grass with beard hair, but the point being, like, take the one that's in here from my hobby stuff and make sure that the filter's nice and cleaned out. I can just all the grass will be right in it. It's not a HEPA filter, but it's pretty good. I don't think I want to add any skulls or maggots. I do. Do see a pretty precarious white spot on that guy though. All right, so now I'm going to clean this up. I'm good to go with grass. So I did, like, I saved a pretty decent amount of grass. Even like it doesn't actually. I was worried it was going to be like glitter and it was just going to get everywhere. It didn't. Of course, I'll get up in the morning and find out just how like glitter it is. Anyway, we go back to this box. don't think. Yeah, let's. Yeah. All right. Let's do some dumb stuff. Speaking of things I haven't done before, I need to get another one of my brushes. I think you may have to hit rewind, Lizard. I have a bunch of. Oh, you don't have to because they're still right here. Got a whole thing of makeup brushes that are relatively affordable that you can use for different stuff, and they come in a variety of shapes, and I love them for dry brushing. Cost effective. Now I got some pigments. I can pigment this thing up a little bit. See how that works. Burnt umber, dark yellow ochre. Oh, maybe I should just read the labels and realize that I should use desert dust. Let's scooch this thing off to the side here. Pulling out all the stops. It is neat, and I don't know if I should use, what is it called? Because I got that too. I got all kinds of crap. I did get some pigment binder, but I don't think I need to use it on this. I think I'm literally just going to brush pigment on this, right? I have no idea what keeps it from rubbing off on your hands, but whatever. Not a me problem right now. I need space, though. I need to clear some space. So, Mortarion, you continue to be my guinea pig. I mean, I'm guessing I just brush some of this stuff on. That sounds... I mean, this is exactly like makeup. Like, what makes that actually settle at all? I don't know. But it looks neat. It certainly looks like desert dust. You know what's really nice about it? It's settling into all those cracks. All those cracks that are black on the bottom. They're getting pigment in them. It's like it's rescuing this. Is what it's doing. I should do a little bit so that you can see. You can see all that black in there, and then I just hit it with some of this, and it's like the black goes away. A little bit, not perfectly, but it is getting in there, which is nice, and absolutely makes it look sandy. And I have no idea what makes that pigment stick. Makes some great light rust effects too. Yeah. So what I was reading, I think from the side of the bottle. No, it's from their website. Is that you use the binder if you want it to have some like raised texture to it. So you put some binder on, and you can use it to blend, which sounds crazy. So what I could do is for like rust, you put some binder on it. You brush some binder on first, and then you dust the thing, and it's like it gets that little like bubbliness to it. Not bubbliness, but like a little bit of a raise. Okay, so this now is looking more like what I had hoped, and it ain't perfect. I'm not saying it's exactly what I had hoped it was, but it's like there's a little bit, it's got a desert look, which matches the model nicely. Kind of dusty looking, and there's like a little bit of green growth right underneath them because Nurgle's influence. Now, what I don't understand at all is what keeps this thing from just being covered in powder. Once again, we'll see how varnishing does, but like right now, it's just dusted, and that's weird. Gotta get inside there. all though. Like, that is neat. Dust up these plants a little bit. Everybody's getting dusty. And this stuff will last me a lifetime. You know what's funny is I can't find them, but in my garage somewhere, I have a ton of pigments from when I used to make soap. And a lot of those pigments are pretty, like, you can mix them pretty crazy and get these kinds of effects out of them. And they're all powders. They all just come in like little sleeves. I got tons of them. They come in like little dime baggies. And if I can get good with this stuff, I could absolutely mix dust pigment, just run a brush of binder over like tiny little sections of a model of like a symbol, and then just you get this beautiful popping thing. All right, I should, this is crazy, but washing these in water is a good thing. Get some of that stuff off of there. I'm gonna dip this in water and wash up my space a little bit. Paint water. Look at how clean that water is. Just being careful. Last thing I want to do is set my hand down and then like dust up his face. There's a little bit of grass on it. Oh man, so glad you didn't see that. I had like this far, 3 feet, a yard, a meter. Throw that thing in the trash and I completely missed it. All right, so what we did, you got a little bit of dry brushing earlier, little zits are filled in. Now I'm just spinning him around and looking for white spots, which I am finding conveniently. Now we're just gonna gently hit any spots with a tiny brush that I just straight up missed before. And this guy here didn't hit earlier tonight because I saw this spot that I hadn't hit yet, and he needs this hit before I throw the same wash on the other two guys that I hit them with. Oh, this is like a pain because of that horn. Let's see if I can get in this side. Yeah, I can. Oh, such a pain in the keister, you little guy. Rely on wash to get the rest of that, I think. Just get in there without hitting the horn. Toot toot. There's the other part of his arm that I never got. All these little bits. And this wash is going to do you wonders, buddy. Correct all my sins when I get to that wash stage. I don't care if you're a little damp. I'm going to hit you with it pronto. You need it. All right, he's looking better. Better. I'm guessing the last of Bugman's glow that I need. Hit the wings a little bit so they have a little green on the bottom, just like Uncle Morty. I mean, I'm not getting a ton of pigment on my fingers after the fact. Getting a ton. All right. Wash. Berserker Bloodshade is what I used on the other two. Yeah, I'm excited to actually use pigments as a rust thing as well. I do love rust. I need to experiment a wee bit. But I may go back and add a little bit to my Tyrant. You can never really have, this brush is way too tiny for putting a wash on. You can never have enough rust effects, and he has so much real estate on him that needs something. I feel good about where it landed, but he's got space for more rust. So this I just need to poke in. I'm happy if this guy gets some spots that are really cooled. Because it'll be around the folds in his skin and stuff like that. And that gross stuff looks good when it's got a lot of contrast in it, at least in my opinion. Hit the edge of his cloak a little bit. All these little spots where one reddish color meets another. In fact, hit his hood with it a little bit. I'm just relying on the wash to sort of connect those bits. All right, sneak through here and get his arm. And I'm going to fix some of his sins. Just bloodshade. I should do something additional. These rocks look too flat. I should hit them with something. They need a little bit of love. I like them. They got a dark wash. I feel like they need something light. I don't know if I can get in there and dry brush effectively. Maybe I should just find out. Maybe I should just find out if I can get in there a little bit with a dry brush. Sounds like a sane proposition. Just don't look cool enough yet. I got all this guy. Okay, he is now washed. That is good. So bloodshed aside, every single time I go past one of these guys and bonk them, I'm scared. Scared. What would be a good dry brush color? I definitely can't use that guy again. That guy's covered in glop. Do this. Flip him. There we go. Now it's safe. I should have a gray somewhere that's white. That's a little too strong. I think I have... Well, Mechanicum Standard Gray is the gray he is. Dawnstone. Dawnstone? Have I ever used you? Doesn't look like I have. That is for dry brushing, and I am dry brushing. So, you make sense. All in the brush. Yes, it is glopped on there right now, but you really want it in there. Last hour trying to do all this CSM trim and it's making me go mad. Have you shared a picture of it? I haven't checked over there since I went on tonight. Oh yeah, this is 100% the right call, by the way. Let's see if I can do this in a way you can see it. Yeah, it's bringing stuff up on that rock nicely. Also kicking grass around, which is a little annoying, but so be it. I will peek over here before I hear back from you. Yeah, definitely share some pics of that. I think the last I've seen was the warpy fire stuff, which is cool. In other news, I'm reading a lot about the word bearers now because I'm reading the first heretic. And that is a neat book. Continue to be impressed with the Horus Heresy. Not all the way through Magnus's story, or at least that first book that talks about Prospero getting nuked or run over by dogs. Might be a while. Yeah, I feel you. This rock looks a lot better dry brushed, like significantly. That makes sense. They're just like, these things are just made for textures to jump out. Like perfect. It's like almost better than cloth. Oh yeah. Now you look like, I was gonna say artist. I don't want to go too far, but man, dry brushing is dope. I think it's one of the first things people should learn to do when they paint because it's such a, I don't want to say confidence booster, but like it makes me look better than I am. Like I struggle with like, I mean that's why you almost never see me do like highlight lines because they don't look right when I do them. They don't look like the other people I've seen that do magic with them. But when you dry brush, and yes, my dry brushing doesn't look as good as someone else's, but you're like, man, that looks like a really cool rock now. Good job, dry brush. And I'm starting to have a ton of sympathy for the word bearers. I'm starting to have a ton of sympathy for basically everyone that's ever dealt with the Emperor directly. I ended up having a lot of sympathy for the Ultramarines in their part of like, I mean, it wasn't Istvan 3, they didn't virus bomb a planet, but like following the Emperor's orders to, I can't remember the name of the planet they go to, that the word bearers had like got into compliance years ago, and it was like the crowning achievement. And then the Ultramarines just show up, like give people 7 days to leave every major city, and then just level them all. Oh man, like, yeesh. Like I'm just doing what the Emperor told me to do. Ain't mad at you. The Emperor absolutely like pits his kids against each other, which I think is weird. Like he does play these weird games. He's not just some, not omniscient, but like, future seeing dude. Like how he handles stuff, very much like he sends the Ultramarines very much on purpose because he knows that like Gilman will just follow him to a T, at least at that period of time, and he knows that Lorgar won't like it. He's like stuffing him. It's kind of cruel. I don't think anyone genuinely wants to be the Emperor's kid. And the Emperor says as much when Rabuti comes back. It's like, yo, Dad. I also think that the infamous line when Magnus comes home, yeah, it makes me like Chaos all the more. Yeah, I just feel validated entirely. I love Chaos. Um, the whole Magnus was right or Magnus did nothing wrong thing is like it's interesting to me because like that argument is very makeable for a lot of folks. Like Lorgar's argument that like, yo, you are a god, like by any distinction, you're literally a thing, a creature that speaks without moving its lips, that looks like whatever it wants to look like to whoever's watching based on its whim, uh, who's the most powerful psychic being. There's no evidence that the Emperor ever really was human. Like, even if you read Master of Man, like, talks about him when he was a kid, but, like, I don't know. I mean, even if you look at, and all of this plays on standard real mythology, like, that's like saying that, like, you know, Jesus Christ was human. Like, yes, he was begot of man, but he had a direct line to talk to the Christian God. Like he gets mad, but here's the main thing that I actually like love about Lorgar's point, and he says this really frankly. He's like, the Emperor watched me do my thing for 60 years. Like the word bearers were not like going around and then they just started this whole like worship the Emperor thing. Like from the start, for 60 years, Lorgar's been going planet to planet to planet. And part of the reason it's taken him so long to get places into compliance is he sticks around and he's like, oh, and I'm going to build this religion on this planet now. Like everyone believes in the Emperor, but now I'm going to have you believe in him like he's a god and have you worship him. And that's like one of the primary arguments of like, yo, dog, you gotta go fast. You gotta go a lot faster. It always, the Emperor even says it, or at least Malcador says it as part of the argument. It's like, you're taking too long. And the Emperor's not a god, but really, like, you're taking too long. Eventually, he's like, I've been doing it this way the whole time. Why now are you just like leveling the cities of the planet I care the most about? Like, couldn't you have just talked to me about it? And the point is, the Emperor could have. Like in so many ways. Like with Magnus, he could have said, I'm working on something very important. You're a big part of it someday. I can even tell you what it is, especially when Magnus writes home and has found another sort of like hole into the webway, which he finds on his own. And I believe he sends word home about it. And the Emperor kind of just goes like, yeah, I already knew what that was. Well, that would have been a key time to tell the guy that you expect to sit on the golden throne that that's what your plan is and that cyclically coming through might screw it up. Oh, I don't know, you might tell that person that you genetically created and raised from, it was like, the dude was self-aware when he was like super tiny. I might have told Magnus, you have a purpose. So he could anchor himself. Instead, you're like, oh, I'm just going to let him float out there so that he has to talk, so that in his curiosity, he can talk to all these things that I say people should never talk to and then blame him for it later. I love it. Love it. Yeah, but more and more, it's like, it's not Magnus did nothing wrong. It's like, man, the Emperor did a lot wrong. And I love it because it's written that way. It's not really up for interpretation. I'm very pleased with the fact that it is a world with not, like, you can have your preferred faction, but it ain't because they're the good guys. Even the guy all the way on top. Kind of grimy. All right, so those rocks look like 50 times better now that I dry brushed them. There's a very good lesson in there. And there's still more stuff I could and might do with them, but like, what an improvement. What an improvement. I'll just brush the side of this thing along here. I like this gray. What is it? Dawnstone. I like that a lot. It is a good dry brushing. I hit the edge of this blade with some of it. Psh, why not? Or here. Oh, that's nice. It's very nice. Man, that's cool. I hit some of this stuff. Yeah. A little bit gray up here. In it to win it, folks. I'll hit these little fuzzies up top. A little bit of brightness on them. Bright gray. Like I said the other night, that my favorite color is gray. It is actually. That's how boring a human being I am. What's your favorite color? My daughter asked me the other day, what's your favorite color? Don't say gray. I was like, you know me. I am boring. There we go. I think, and I'll spot something some other day, but I think I'm done. I genuinely think I'm done. I'm not putting the tubes on this thing. There are a couple pieces that could go on the wing. I may add some more nerdlings, but I think I'm going to varnish this guy. Matte varnish him tomorrow, if the grass will hold up, and I got my experiment waiting for that. I don't think I'm going to mess with this guy anymore right now. I hit these metal a little bit, I say as I continue to dry brush him. But I feel pretty good about him. Dawnstone's good on the chains too. Very gently, just get the tops of those spiky bits coming out. Oh yeah, Johnstone, you're my new friend. I think this guy is at the very least kind of table ready. Yeah. Count up how many hours I did the other night. I think it's been like 12 or 14 hours of work. Plus another like maybe hour or so off camera where I had to do some stuff that I would prep ahead of time. Otherwise, it would be like the worst stream ever. A little bit. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm just done stoning up this whole thing. But yeah, I will have to take a nice video of this guy. But it looks pretty cool. I like the paint job. I like the color choices. There's barely any green on this whole thing. His cataracts look dope. There's that refracting sort of stuff on the bottom of the wings. He's got a little bit of special warpy glow to him. The Nurgle's rot is nice and dried up. It looks great on these little sticky spots. These little guys look cool enough. I think I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna say he's table ready. I have to. Yeah, thanks, man. I do have to. Not that I don't have plenty of time. But it is October. And I got a Trazen I got to move on to soon after that. And I have a pile of Space Marine torsos and legs attached over there. So I do have stuff I got to do. So yeah, I think I'm content. There will be some cleanup I do someday, but I'll be happy to put this guy on a board. He's pretty good in 10th right now. So I'll be psyched to use him. I was expecting all of the heavy lifting to be with that Tyrant. I am very excited to have these two guys as like being able to field both of these in the same army. Very solid feeling. Of course, I'll have very few other little guys running around scrambling like crazy, but I've done the math, and there's actually some good army comps that I can use with both. And I can have Mortarion sort of guide a few little squirrely groups of guys forward and leave that Tyrant pretty far back and just shell the daylights out of people. I'm not quite at 2,000 points, but I am precariously close. I'm just Space Marines away, Space Plague Marines away. So yeah, I'm gonna peace out. Thanks a bunch. I learned about, what was it, flocking? Yeah, flocking was the word. Always learn something from Lizard Wizard. So thanks a bunch, and we'll paint some more soon. Have a good night. Bye bye.